It's a big group for the Irish, it's a small group really for the GAA when we think of the tens and hundreds of thousands of people who commit to the GAA in so many ways. But so you're the small representative sample that we're able to have to mark this very special year. It's our greatest national sporting organisation, some would say, and maybe they'd be right that it's our greatest national asset. It's certainly one of the most remarkable phenomena that we've ever had, I think. And we're so proud of the GAA, so proud of the many, many ways in which it connects us, not just here in Ireland, but how it keeps us connected as a family right around the world. And so I'm particularly glad and happy to welcome those who are from other parts. Well, probably not themselves. If you were talking to them, I'm sure you'd find that their roots are very strongly Irish, but who are working on behalf of the GAA elsewhere in the world. We know that your hearth is, and our hearth is, the magnificent stadium that is Croke Park. It's the heartland, isn't it? But really, in many ways, the heartland of the GAA is just literally wherever two or more Gaels are gathered anywhere in the world, whether it's to pug a slither or whether it's to kick a ball or whatever it is, or to play handball, whatever it is. From Derry to Dingle, Dublin to Dubai, San Francisco to Hong Kong, day in and day out, week in and week out, there are people making a huge, huge personal commitment. And they wouldn't call it a sacrifice. They'd look at you horrified if you called it a sacrifice in the name of the GAA. And the reason they don't call it a sacrifice is because, of course, they get so much back. The giving is rewarded 1,000 times over. So we have an army, a veritable army of volunteers who take care of this great organisation and have taken care of it year in and year out for 125 years, so that we enjoy this extraordinary, this extravagant organisation that is full of so many memories and so many opportunities. Parishes, townlands, villages, suburbs, cities, schools, clubs, streets. There's just nothing to match it in terms of the friendships it makes, the connections it makes. Nothing, I think, comes close to matching the GAA, not on this island and not in any other part of the world. And I think the fact, too, that it remains an unapologetic amateur organisation, so rooted deeply in what is local, as well as what's national and international, makes it is its enduring strength. It's one of the things we're most proud of and we like to boast about most. It came home to me just how important this great organisation is in our lives, really. It was a comment Martin made at the start of the year when we were listening to the news, and it was just a litany of misery, absolute misery. One thing after another, one catastrophic thing after another, mostly to do with the economy, I needn't say otherwise. People losing their jobs and the state of the banks and the economy and all of those things that were quite depressing. And we'd listened to it anyway, and the next thing I heard Martin, he had his hands in his head and he just said, "Dear God," he said, "would the football season ever start?" And that's one of the great gifts you give us. Isn't it the most wonderful distraction, isn't it? The most wonderful distraction to be able to talk now, as we're able to do for the first time in 38 years, about Antrim. It's amazing, quite remarkable, quite remarkable. So we're looking forward to getting to that match, and we're hoping, we're going to be using the government jet, obviously, to go to Clonus, and we're asking the government to, since it is 38 years, I think it's only right that we maybe get a special runway built above in Clonus now. So really looking forward to that day out. So I apologise in advance if anybody expects me to be neutral on that day. Any one of you who knows me, who's ever sat beside me at a match, will know that I don't do neutrality, unfortunately. The country does neutrality internationally, but in the GAA terms, I don't do neutrality. And certainly on that day, I will be anything but neutral. And really, really looking forward to it, I have to tell you. But that's one of the great things, to see a team come through after 38 years. The buzz, the hype, the fun, the excitement, just the sheer mood that it creates, you know better than anybody, provided you're not from Kerry or Kilkenny, because you would have no memory of these events, just what it's like just what it's like to beat the odds. And I've been hoping, of course, with my great seats that we don't have to fight for at the moment anyway, with another couple of years of really good seats in Croke Park. I've been hoping and praying that someday I would walk out onto the pitch and that I would shake hands with somebody in an Antrim jersey, or a Down, and a Down jersey, of course, too. And anyway, we live in hope and keep our fingers crossed, and every one of us harbours an ambition similar to that. That's what keeps us passionate, and also, of course, it's what keeps these games endlessly fascinating. The sheer ability to beat the odds. And of course, it's in the doing of that you've created this store of mega memories. And it is itself a mega store of mega memories. You've created so many opportunities, you have seeded ambition, you've honed skill, you've galvanised the individual, you've harnessed the team, you've got the parish going, you've got the school going, you've got the county, you've got the country, and right around the world you have people staying up at all sorts of times of the night and day to watch matches from home. You've brought to us days of enormous pride, massive pride. Occasional broken hearts, of course, as well. Days when we went home with our hearts absolutely in fragments, even if it was, from the under-14s in the local parish, our hearts broken. But by the time you get home, the determination has been, it's got back together again. They won't do that to us the next time. No, we've pulled the power together and we have stored it up as a memory that we won't let escape the next time. I really don't know how we would ever begin, any of us, any one of us as individuals, to repay the debt that we owe to the GAA. It's been with us from our earliest childhood years. It's been woven into the fabric of our lives. And so many of our happiest family memories gather also around the GAA. But on this day, we gather to say a very heartfelt thank you for all those debts that we owe you that could never, ever, ever be repaid. But they weren't created as debts to be repaid. Except, I suppose, in this way, that those who started this organisation and those who sustain it in every generation hope that all those memories gather enough passion in a human heart, that heart will commit to being involved in this generation and so hand on the baton in home, in parish, in street, in county and country, wherever it is in the world, that baton will be handed on to the next generation. And it would be impossible, of course, ever to name all the great GAA players and the great GAA leaders, both on and off the field. They've earned our respect, they've earned our gratitude. They are legion and they are legendary. If we were to ever take the GAA out of our lives, if we were to look back at the sweep of our lives and we were to take the GAA out of it, it would be like a permafrost. It would be like an ice age. Because when we sit around the fire or we're sitting chatting to our kids or we have friends in, it is just remarkable how many times the conversation drifts to days, whether it was in Clonus or whether it was in Pettit Park in Rostrevor or whether it is in Croke Park or Casement Park. It's remarkable how many times the memories drift to those days. How you talk about being at the joy of being at a Munster final, how you talk about the joy of being at a Connacht final, how you talk about the joy of being on a special day yet to come at an Ulster final, how you talk about the great days of Leinster. It is it's an extraordinary thing. It is a mighty thing to think that this gigantic set of memories just came about because somebody decided to create this organisation, this great amateur organisation. And in every generation, bunches of people decided, like you, to make it keep on happening day in and day out. We'd never, ever be able to thank you enough. None of us. So I hope that this day just goes some small way to saying, on behalf of the Irish nation and the great Irish family gathered around the world, how proud you make us. What a joy it was to go to San Francisco, to see the pitches there and to see it so vibrant, to go to Dubai and see 80 youngsters, under 10, lining out to play Gaelic football and hurling. What an amazing thing it was to go to Thailand for the Asian Gaelic Games and to sit there pinching ourselves and saying, did Hong Kong really win that? Is it possible that that was Hong Kong? I mean, you just have no idea of the pride not just in the GAA, the pride in ourselves as a people. We've taken a bit of a battering this year, but if we want to see the truest spirit of our country, if we want to see its character at its absolute living, generous, skilled and lovely best, well, it's in this room and it's anywhere where two or more are gathered in the name of Uncommon Low Class Gael. Gora míle maith agaibh.